The diagram presented shows the various attributions of the biological importance of headwater streams and river networks, specifically the aquatic ecosystems of the Central Appalachians, as well as their biological factors. Aspects to the right of the diagram depict different benefits of species that are unique to headwaters. Shown to the left of the diagram are the biological attributions of the headwater ecosystems to the downstream and/or riparian ecosystems. In the coal mining process, there are two types of mining that are very common: surface mining and deep mining. Surface mining is more appropriate for projects less than 200 feet underground, and dynamite is a common method used for completing this type of mining. 2 out of 3 of all mining is done with surface mining. The other process is called deep mining, which is appropriate for projects more than 200 feet underground, where heavy machinery is necessary. Transportation for the coal includes trains, trucks, and conveyors.
What is mountaintop removal? MTVF is a type of surface mining. It starts with removing forest and topsoil and any vegetation on top of the mountain. Explosives, like dynamite, are then used to blow heavy debris away from the scene, and most of the debris is then disposed in valley fills created by the explosions. Before extraction, coal is washed, clearing it of dirt and any residue or ash, and it is then removed and the site is reclaimed. Some things, like the Clean Water Act and the Surface Mining Control and Reclamation Act, are ways that this type of mining is regulated. So how are ecosystems affected by MTVF? Through the process of MTVF, many streams can be destroyed by being buried from all of the debris that is created when creating the valleys. Organisms that can be infected are invertebrates. With elevated conductivity levels, it can be toxic to invertebrates, especially insects inhabiting the aquatic ecosystems. For vertebrates, the same things can happen, but also sources of drinking water can be contaminated, as well as environments or habitats for these animals. Other stream aspects that can be affected are the loss of natural streams, soils, and vegetation, disruption of water flow patterns or quality, loss of biodiversity. And why are only these specific organisms affected? Aquatic insects like mayflies can be sensitive to conductivity changes, and changes like this can also affect biological processes like osmosis.
Some local environmental impacts of mountaintop removal in MTVF include how mines are meant to convert some of the draining into nearby sediment ponds. Another example could be how numerous decades are required for forests to restore a non-existent soil over recently uncovered rock. Notwithstanding the challenge of developing a meager soil, vegetation soils can restrain tree development. Without thick soils and adequate supplements, local trees in this area cannot be formed. Ongoing work breaking down hydraulical changes so that peak streams increment directly with the percent of watershed mined, regardless of the land that has been recovered. Some far-reaching environmental impacts can include how levels of watershed varies, which directly influence hydrology. The process of rainwater permeating into the ground and transporting through pores in the soil directly shapes its stream water chemistry. Another example can be higher levels of sulfate in water. Raised sulfate concentrations will invigorate microbial sulfate reduction in streams and wetland sediments. In this response, microorganisms use sulfate instead of oxygen in the utilization of organic matter.
To fix the problems caused by MVTF, the CWA 404 guidelines have stream creation on sites, which is recreating land and reshaping drains and channels, and recreating sites in an attempt to restore the original form of the natural habitats as closely as possible. There are also required assessments. There are limitations to these mitigations, as it is difficult to artificially replicate the natural and dynamic aspects of ecosystems. Also, with stream creation, the created channels will be different and be unable to replicate original processes, while with stream restoration, there is no evidence that original conditions can actually be restored. Structure and function are not equivalent because the natural channel design approach focuses on structure instead of function, because appearance is easier to store than actual function and processes the stream originally had. To improve the current efficiencies in reclamation and mitigation for reconstruction, the mitigation plans call for reconstruction to make a stream similar to the dimensions as the one destroyed, channel type making it into a specific form, trying to replicate the original geomorphic and hydrologic form with the location and the process the stream originally had, and reclaiming the vegetation with the original nitrogen and carbon levels in the soil.
So, in conclusion, the environmental effects of MTVFs in the Central Appalachians are serious, huge scale, and have a huge impact. Notwithstanding the potential internment and loss of headwater streams legitimately affected by mining, numerous extra waterway miles are being corrupted by the total effects of modified streams and expanded contamination from at various times mining exercises in the area in which are affecting many aquatic environments and species today.